Dear student teachers and all the viewers, welcome to today's program. Today we are going to discuss a very important area in the field of education. Dear student teachers, you all are joined in this teacher training course to become wonderful teachers. For that, you are attaining various professional skills that are required to help students to grow well. You are learning different approaches, methods, techniques, strategies that are to be implemented in your classroom to help students to bring all-round development of our students. And you are also learning psychology of the child, educational philosophy and various other subjects, related subjects. And along with this, there is also one very important skill that we have to attain is testing. Testing skill, testing English is very, very important. How to test our students, how to construct one test, that one question paper, how to administer that, how to retrieve result from it, how can we make best use of these examinations for the growth and development of our children. Today we are going to learn Scholastic achievement test, how to conduct a Scholastic achievement test in our students, in our classrooms, and what are the various uses of them. And after completion of this, you understand the terms SAT, test, measurement, assessment and evaluation, and also you are able to understand the principles involved in the construction of Scholastic achievement test. You can also construct one Scholastic achievement test paper as per set norms. Before going to details, let us try to understand what is meant by Scholastic achievement test. This Scholastic achievement test measure a student's overall competency in a specific subject. It assesses the overall proficiency of the language established by the child. And in our education system, we use different ways to quantify and qualify the teaching learning process. We come across some terms: test, measurement, assessment, evaluation. A test or examination is an assessment intended to measure a test taker's knowledge of content assimilation. It is done by responding to a set of questions. It is a tool of measurement that quantifies characteristics of individual according to explicit procedures. We follow systematic procedures to measure the quality and quantity of the assimilation of knowledge by the child. One example of language test is test of English as a foreign language. Let us try to understand what is meant by measurement. Measurement can be defined as the process of assigning numbers to events based on an established set of rules. Dear student teachers, in your question paper, we give some task to students. It may be description. You may ask students to write a description, and also there may be some vocabulary exercise, grammar exercises, and you give some numbers to them, and you ask them to attend the test, and based on their proficiency, you give some numbers to their performances. This can be termed as measurement. And here, dear student teachers, for example, when we say a learner reads 300 words per minute, we are measuring the reading speed of the learner and assigning a numeric value 300 words per minute. Assessment is a systematic process of gathering, interpreting and acting upon data related to student learning and experience for the purpose of developing a deep understanding of what students know, understand and can do with their knowledge as a result of their educational experience. Dear student teachers, we teach one unit. After that, we assess the students' performance, and we gather some information related to the person's proficiency that is attained through the process of teaching and learning, and based on that we assess the performance of the child. And you observe this, this is assessment cycle. You see, you plan one unit and implement that unit, and after that you ask some questions. That means you assess students' performance, and then after that you report and revise it. And for that's why you plan one lesson, you teach that lesson. After teaching that lesson, you ask some questions to know whether your students have understood your lesson or not. For example, if your students have understood your lesson, you start new lesson, that means new unit. If you feel that your students fail to understand your lesson, you reteach that lesson. For example, this will be a continuous process. Assessment will be a continuous process. You plan a lesson, you teach that lesson, you assess, that means you ask some questions. Based on the responses that are given by the students, you can understand whether your students have understood your lesson. For example, if your students have understood your lesson, you start new lesson. For example, if your students fail to understand your lesson, you reteach the same lesson by using different what we call different techniques, different procedures. Evaluation. Let us try to understand the term evaluation. The term evaluation means to make judgment by providing marks and grades on the basis of level of achievement of the children's learning. And you observe the difference between assessment and evaluation. Assessment is to increase quality, evaluation is to judge quality. After, with the help of evaluation, we give some ranks to students, grades to students: below average, satisfactory, very good, excellent, outstanding. Then let us try to understand, why is it necessary to evaluate? Why should we conduct examinations or tests to our students?
I'm sure you know the feeling of anticipation when you are about to take a quiz or test. Did you take detailed class notes and study enough? And you surely have been assigned with various essays. Did you give yourself enough time to research, write, and revise your essay in order to meet the requirements? Exams and essays, along with speeches and projects, are forms of assessment. Assessment is a critical step in the learning process. It determines whether or not the course's learning objectives have been met. A learning objective is what students should know or be able to do by the time a lesson is completed. Assessment affects many facets of education, including student grades, placement and advancement, as well as curriculum, instructional needs, and school funding. Let's look at a couple of the main effects of assessment. Student learning. Assessment is a key component of learning because it helps students learn. When students are able to see how they are doing in a class, they are able to determine whether or not they understand course material. Assessment can also help motivate students. If students know they are doing poorly, they may begin to work harder. Imagine this situation. Johnny is a chemistry student. He just took his final exam in his class. He earned a 56%. He needs a 79% to pass the class. The low exam score lets Johnny know that he missed something important he should have learned. Perhaps he did not understand the material, or maybe he did not study long enough. Whatever the case, the assessment results let Johnny know that he did not successfully learn the material and that he must try something new in order to earn a better score. Teaching. Just as assessment helps students, assessment helps teachers. Frequent assessment allows teachers to see if their teaching has been effective. Assessment also allows teachers to ensure students learn what they need to know in order to meet the course's learning objectives. Imagine this situation. Mrs. Brown is a 12th grade biology teacher. After finishing the unit on cell division, she gives a 50-point multiple choice test. Upon grading the exam, Mrs. Brown realized the average class grade was a 68%, far below the cutoff line for passing. Mrs. Brown can easily see that her students didn't fully learn cell division. This tells her that she needs to revisit the unit on cell division and determine why students failed the exam. Perhaps she may need to try a different teacher.
Okay, dear student teacher, just you observe the importance of assessment. Assessment addresses the issues of all the stakeholders as follows. It helps learners to know their strengths and weaknesses. Examinations or tests help students to know their strengths and weaknesses. It helps teachers to develop their teaching skills. They can provide good learning experiences to the students. We conduct a test. With the help of the result, teacher can understand whether students are following his or her lesson properly or not. Based on that information, based on the marks, based on the performance of the child, teacher can replan his lesson, and according to needs, according to interests, attitudes of the child, he can provide appropriate education and learning experiences to children. And we can develop a very good curriculum with the help of evaluation. It helps us to prepare appropriate curriculum which meets the individual needs of the learners and the society. Students play, learn and grow together. It helps management. It gives information about the performance of the learners and the teachers so that they take necessary measures to strengthen the academic standards of the school. And also it helps policymakers to prepare a society-linked curriculum to help the learners to attain the skills that are needed in the society. And also it helps parents by giving information of the progress of the learners to the parents, through which they know the ability of their children, their interests, aptitudes, attitudes, and help them in identifying the career. And in that way, the parents also know the strengths and weaknesses of their children. Based on the interest of the children, they can provide appropriate career. That means appropriate courses. They can encourage the children to join in appropriate courses and help them to grow. And it helps the society also. Assessment gives a clear pictures to the society about the performance of the school and how the existing curriculum equips the learners to meet the challenges posed by the society. And the education that we impart in the classroom should be useful to the society. In such a way, the education, that curriculum should be there, the teaching learning process should be there in the classroom. And here we follow CCE. CCE stands for Continuous Comprehensive Evaluation. It stresses evaluation should not be one movement activity. We teach to our students for one academic year. After completion of one academic year, we conduct one examination, final examination. Based on that, we assess students, and this is not correct. Every activity of the child, every capacity of the child should be measured. Every ability of the child should be measured. It should be assessed properly. That means that evaluation should be a continuous process, and it should also be comprehensive. It should cover both curricular and co-curricular areas of the learner, and it should take care of cognitive growth, affective growth and psychomotor growth of the child into consideration. And in our schools, we follow two types of tests, dear student teachers. One is formative assessment, number two is summative assessment. Today we learn how to conduct formative assessment, one formative assessment test. And today we learn the tools that we use for formative assessment. How can we use these tools to assess our children for the purpose of formative assessment? This we may call, we may take it as a scholastic achievement test. Dear student teachers, you attend schools for the purpose of teaching practice. You teach one unit to students and you develop one test. That means, and you design one formative test and implement it in the classroom. You administer the test. This here, this information is here, dear student teachers. We use tools. Here you observe here, reading and reflection is one tool. Let us try to understand how do we use this tool to assess our students. Written work is one tool. Project work is one of the tools. Slip test is one of the tools of formative assessment. Generally, we take these four types of tools to assess our students in the classroom. You observe here, marks are also given here, and reading and reflection we allocate 10 marks. Written work for 10 marks, project work is for 10 marks, and also we conduct one day a slip test to our students, that is for 20 marks. In that way, the total of total is for 50 marks, and we reduce them into 20 marks for the purpose of entering this information to final examination result. And let us try to understand how do we take up reading and reflection activity in the classroom. See, dear student teachers, you teach one unit to your students in your teaching practice, and we should take care of reading activity there, and reading is very, very important activity. You should develop that skill in our students. Reading enables our students to become independent, that reading skill enables our students to become independent readers. Reading is very, very important life skill to them. They read different varieties of materials in their day-to-day life. Students should read materials other than textbooks. The teacher is expected to provide reading materials to students. Dear student teachers, you teach one unit. While you are teaching, you should encourage your students to read books that are there around them. That means we should not confine our students to read information that is there only in textbooks. Encourage them to read different books that are there around them, and that are there that information which they need in their day-to-day life. In their day-to-day, they have to read many things. You observe here, you encourage them to read books, that story books, kids books, they contain wonderful pictures. These pictures help them to comprehend well. They feel very happy to read this type of books. Teacher should provide this type of books to students based on their interest level, primary level, one type of reading material. That means based on their needs, based on their interest, based on their proficiency level, we should provide materials to students. And we should encourage them to access internet and read information that is there in the internet. And also you develop the habit of reading books in the library. Encourage them to visit library, and it may be in school library there will be some books, some encyclopedia books may be there. Let our students refer those books and retrieve information, and let our students access internet and learn, read e-books. E-books are available, millions of pages of information is there. Help our students to access e-books and learn them and read them and learn information which is there. Hence we have wonderful computer labs in our schools. Make best use of computer labs, and for example, if you have internet access, let our students access internet and read books. For that facility is not there, load some books that are suitable to students to read, and encourage them to read books, e-books, and give some guidelines. You should instill one confidence in your students that you can read any information and understand that is there in this world, which is in English. No need, don't worry, don't feel any fear to read English information. You can understand. You follow these things. You start your reading with one confidence. That's, yes, I can read and understand this information. Then observe titles, names, pictures that are there in that page. They help them to comprehend the material. Definitely you can understand. You continue your reading. Don't stop. You continue with some speed. You continue your reading. You read some information. Automatically you understand that information. This type of positive encouragement and this type of interest, this type of intrinsic motivation should be instilled in our students to encourage them to read books. And after that, the students write their reflections in their notebooks, come to classroom, say to their friends. This activity is called reading and reflection activity, dear student teachers. This is very, very important activity, and we should take care of this and ask them to reread the material also. For example, they read some information. For example, they don't understand that information, they should not stop there. It's okay to reread something if you do not understand it fully the first time. First time you may not be in the position to understand. Encourage them to reread that information and say to them that definitely you can understand that information. And reading cards will be there. For example, primary schools, teachers can use reading cards. They are with wonderful pictures. They can comprehend this information very easily. Reading cards are available in the market. There should be available, there should be the type of material should be provided to our students. They are full pictures, they are with pictures. Students enjoy reading this type of information. And storybooks, encourage them to read storybooks with pictures. Storybooks with pictures. Magazines, ask them to read magazine, provide magazines to them. Based on their level, let our students read newspapers, English newspapers, read that and understand that. And recipes, very interesting area. Encourage students to read recipes, provide them that recipes information books to them. Students read that information and they feel very happy. Yes, this learning will be very much helpful. This is very helpful for me. It's very interesting. I have to read this type of materials. Then they start reading and they develop good reading skills. The learners should read the reading materials, write their reflections in their notebooks, present their reflections orally before the class. This is the activity of reading and reflection, and based on that you can allocate marks in this way. For introduction purpose, you may allocate 4 marks for that, content 3 marks, conclusion 3 marks, total 10 marks. This reading and reflection can be assessed for 10 marks. And then next tool, written work. Written work is one of the tools of formative assessment, dear student teachers. You have to observe their written work. Where do you find students' written work, dear student teachers? You find students' written work in their notebooks. Observe their notebooks. In their notebooks, we come across some written discourses. We come across written discourses. That means there may be some letters, posters, notices, and some emails. Such type of written discourses will be there. Some messages will be there in the notebooks. You observe them and you have to assess that information. Textual exercises can be seen in their notebooks. Answers to analytical questions will be there in their notebooks, and some vocabulary and grammar exercises will be there. And you should observe all these exercises and award marks to our students, assess their written work carefully, dear student teachers. Observe. In this way you gather notebooks of the children. You find some analytical, the answers to analytical questions, some discourses, some grammar and vocabulary exercises in their notebooks. You observe them, and based on your observation, you award marks to them. You observe, you may give such type of task to them to develop posters. This is one poster developed by class 5 students. We have posters, we have notices, written discourses. We teach these things to our students. From very young age, we teach these things to our students to develop their language proficiency. Some notices also there in their notebooks. Observe them, these notices, and award marks to them. This is the procedure of allocation of marks to their written works. Notebooks 4 marks. That means that answers to analytical questions, grammar and vocabulary exercises. Textual exercises 3 marks. Wall magazines 3 marks. That means wall magazines means notices and posters. Total 10 marks. You assess written exercises for 10 marks. This is one of the tools of formative assessment. Project works. Dear student teachers, projects are there in our textbooks. Students are intrinsically motivated and construct their own knowledge. Student-centered learning. Project works encourage student-centered learning. Students are active participants. It is based on the principle learning by doing. Hence, there are projects in our textbooks. Ask them to perform, and that means work in groups, and based on their project work, you allot marks to students. You assess their project work tool. That means work in groups and think of the points in favor of and against the following and write them on a chart. Homemade food is better than junk food. Now, one member in each group should make presentation before the entire class. This is one project that is there in class 5. Related to theme, one project work is here. Students should be organized into groups, and they should work on that. They should generate points. They may refer other books also, generate points. They have to write points in favor of and against on homemade food is better than junk food. And after gathering this information, they present that information in the classroom. Based on their presentations, you award marks to them. And observe there here, prepare your family tree. This is one project work. You may give this type of projects to primary students. How to make family tree. Teacher helps students prepare this type of project works. And project on water conservation. Dear student teachers, there are some themes in our textbooks. For example, there is a theme on environment in our textbooks. While you are dealing that theme, that unit, while you are teaching, you give this type of projects. Students should develop a project on different ways to conserve water, how to conserve water. And here this type of projects helps our students to access other subjects also. We call it cross curricular activities. This type of activities should be encouraged, dear student teachers. They refer biological science, biology, or it may be physical science, it may be social studies, that information. They refer various other books and gather information. In that way they develop good language skills, reading skills, and they come and present in the classroom. And projects are theme based and socially relevant. There is a project in each unit related to the theme of the unit. The teacher can take up prescribed themes or go for other projects related to the given theme. Integration of all language skills can be seen in a project. It enhances communication and interpersonal skills. This is the process of allocation of marks to projects, dear student teachers. For collection of data, 3 marks, report writing 4 marks, for presentation 3 marks. In this way you assess the performance of the child. Dear student teachers, we conduct slip tests. Slip test is also one of the tools in formative assessment. You should follow some principles while you are conducting slip test. There is no prior information for conducting slip test. You need not give prior information to students. It is done in a limited period. You take a period, that means it may be 40 or 45 minutes of time, you should conduct that slip test. Slip test should cover the discourses also. Then you observe this allocation of marks for slip test. Reading comprehension 5 marks, vocabulary 5 marks, grammar 5 marks, creative writing 5 marks. Creative writing means discourses. So you observe that written discourse we teach to our students. It may be letter, poster, it may be a message, a description, etc. Let us try to understand in detail the principles involved in the construction of scholastic achievement test. We call it formative assessment. Now let us try to understand how to conduct one formative assessment, how to develop, what are the principles we should bear in mind while we are constructing one test to our students. See, dear student teachers, we should give weightages to academic standards. You are all aware that we have some academic standards. We should take care of these academic standards. All the academic standards have to be assessed in a formative period. However, for slip test, we assess 4 academic standards for 9th and 10th classes. We assess all the 6 academic standards for class 1 to 8th. You observe this. We have to develop one weightage table by giving importance to all the academic standards. In case of 9th and 10th, we take care of 4 academic standards. Reading comprehension is for 5 marks, vocabulary is for 5 marks, grammar is for 5 marks, creative writing should be assessed for 5 marks. In this way, our slip test should be for 20 marks. The inference of this weightage table is that we should give importance, due importance to all the academic standards while we are assessing or conducting a slip test. See, here 1 to 8th we take care of 6 academic standards. Listening and speaking 4 marks, reading comprehension 4 marks, vocabulary 3, grammar 3, creative writing 3 marks, conventions of writing 3 marks, total for 20 marks. See, dear students, next weightage principle we should bear in mind, weightage given to the content. Dear student teachers, you teach one unit. What is the content that is there in that unit? There will be one prose, there will be prose items, poetry items, and we sometimes we come across that grammar vocabulary items in that unit. Hence, you should take care of all the things. And here prose is in the form of reading passages. Reading A, reading B, reading C is provided in each unit in our Telangana English textbooks, dear student teachers. And this prose is for knowledge. Poetry is also there. We should also take care of poetry. Poetry is for enjoyment. Hence, we should take care of poetry. And some non-detailed some reading passage that is for moral values can be developed by using one reading passage, and and care should be taken to include all these things in our test. And we should also take care of grammar and vocabulary that is there in that unit while we are preparing one slip test paper. Weightage is given to the content. You observe this. You should give weightage to all the content areas: prose, poetry, language elements, that means grammar and vocabulary. You observe here, we may allocate 5 marks for prose, poetry and non-detail for 5 marks, language elements, grammar and vocabulary 10 marks. Total for 20 marks we have to construct the test. Dear student teachers, you are aware that we have different types of questions. Hence, while we are constructing a test, we should make use of all the types of questions. All the types of questions should be included. Each question has its own value while the process of assessing, and we have to include different types of questions while constructing Scholastic achievement test. We have to use essay type, short answer type questions, very short answer type questions, and objective type questions. Should not ignore any type of these questions, dear student teachers. We should make use of all the types of questions in our test. See, weightage is given to different types of questions. In that, we should give top priority to objective type questions, because objective type questions, they have wonderful advantages, dear student teachers. That is why you observe all the competitive examinations are conducted in objective type, because they are easy to value, they show better coverage. We can cover all the skills, listening, speaking, reading and writing skills, and they have validity and reliability of scoring. That is why we should give importance to objective type questions. Observe, weightage given to different types of questions. You observe here, essay questions, short answer, very short answer, objective. In this way, dear student teacher, you should develop a table in order to give weightage to all the types of questions. In this table, you give types of questions, number of questions, marks for each question, total questions you would like to give, and finally percentage. In that way, you should develop one weightage table in order to give importance to all the types of questions. Weightage given to the difficulty level. Dear student teachers, you are all aware that in our classroom we have 3 types of students. Some students are above average, few students will be there above average. They are creative and they are very intelligent. Hence, we should cater the needs of this type of group. Some students are above or average. Most of the students in our classroom are average, and some students will be there below average. They are known as future learners. Sometimes we call them as slow learners. Hence, we should not ignore any group in this. We should provide questions and tasks in our question paper to cater the needs of these 3 types of students. There should be some challenging questions to above average students, some tough questions. challenging questions which demand a lot of proficiency on the part of the child. Such type of questions will be. And there will be some very easy questions that are suitable to below average students in order to motivate the child. And also this type of giving importance to all the types of students will help us to know their abilities. After conducting of the test, the test result should give one important information, that is information that the above average students, and we should be in the position to discriminate above average students and below average students in our classroom. If you know that, we can plan according to their needs. We can go for personalized teaching according to their needs, according to their interest, according to their abilities. We can teach them, we can provide tasks to them, we can help them to develop. And observe, this is one weightage chart that shows difficulty level. In this, we have three types of questions: easy questions, average questions, and difficult questions. And marks: easy questions, that means easy questions for 5 marks, average questions 10 marks, difficult questions 5 marks. In this way, total marks will be 20. And blueprint: a blueprint is a sketch that shows balance of weights given to the objectives, content, and types of questions. And finally, you should also prepare one blueprint. This blueprint gives us complete information of your question paper. It presents a clear picture of the test at one glance. You observe this. This is one blueprint, dear student teachers. This blueprint gives that gist of your test, and it gives information. Your academic standards you are taking care while you are conducting the test. You are included reading comprehension, vocabulary, grammar, and creative writing in your question paper. And also content, you covered content: prose, poetry, language elements. That means it may be language elements will be there. That way, what are the types of questions you have given is also clearly given here. Types of questions: essay questions, short answer questions, very short answer questions, then objective the types of questions. And in this way, the total entire picture of your question paper can be understood by observing this blueprint. In this way, dear student teachers, you should prepare one test. You should follow all these scientific principles. You generate weightage tables to all the elements and prepare wonderful test. Dear student teachers, you should attain this proficiency of testing, that means assessment. And one important thing every one of you should bear in mind, dear student teachers, it may be test or you may call it as examination. The purpose is to help our students to grow well. These examinations or tests are not to create a sort of pressure on the child. The students should enjoy attending examinations. That type of education we should provide. Students should feel happy. I am going to write one examination. This examination gives me a result that it shows me my strengths and weaknesses. Based on that, I grow further. Okay, dear student teachers, today we learn testing English as a second language, how to construct one test and how to administer a test, and what are the various uses and purposes of test in our teaching learning process. Make best use of all these things, dear student teachers, and I wish you very good luck and all the best. Thank you.